Bill Epeards, have a seat. Greg Ritz, come on over. And Joe Thomas.
What's the most common mistake that you see people make at the average hunter that keeps him or her from bagging a trophy whitetail? Bill.
You know, I feel about the same way these two gentlemen feel. You know, tree stand placement is very important. And I think you can burn out a good tree stand real quick, especially on a mature whitetail. So, you know, I try not to visit that stand too much until it's right. The wind's right. I think if you hunt that stand on a continuous basis, those deer, they don't get big by being stupid and having a lot of pressure put on them. When I go in there, I want them to give me the opportunity to make the shot.
Okay, thank you, Bill. If the deer are nocturnal, how do you bag them? How do you work with a deer that's nocturnal? Bill, can you comment on that?
Yeah, you know, if you're after a big buck and the only time you see him is crossing the road late at night, and me being a police officer, I used to work a lot of nights, and I see those big bucks in the field crossing the road. You know, these critters don't get that big headset on by being dumb. And what happens is what this gentleman says, you know, they might go deeper. They might go deeper and they still move around. But the problem that you have is getting into them. You know, you might bump that deer getting into them. So that takes them more deeper or move a little later in different areas. So he's right. You know, the deer just don't lay there all day. You know, they get up and move around too. But the problem is that they move around the right spots. And when you go after them or find them, you know, you could bump them on the way out, which makes them more smart. You know, I like you know, hunting in thirds. You know, you got the early season where the beans are still in the field and you see bachelor bucks come out. That's a great time to harvest a mature whitetail. Then you got the rut coming in and you got other animals coming you haven't seen before because they're making themselves, you know, vulnerable. They're looking for the does. And I think a lot of people pass up one of the best parts of deer season is late season. Because just like Joe said, now the deer have to eat, like in weather we have right now. That puts the elements in your ballpark. If you can survive the elements, whether you're hunting tree stands, cold weather, if you get to that food supply, you've got a real good chance of harvesting mature whitetail. And you're going to have to change your strategy a little bit, like maybe hunting a ground blind. You know, like if you look around this show, you look at all the blinds. If you get a situation where you have the land leased or you own the land, hey, go to some of these permanent blinds, brush them in. You know, prepare yourself, you know, the year before for the late season coming up. And if you have to, you can put a heater in that blind and stay for the duration of your season and survive the elements and allow yourself those big mature whitetails are not coming to that food source, give you an opportunity.
That's a great point, Bill. The heater thing, it brings to mind this, is it the ozonator?
Yes.
The ozone control? If any of you guys messed around with that? Ozonics.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Is that the real deal?
It's a real deal.
And I would think for ground blinds, it's
amazing. Yeah. We hunt in Texas, McCrae's Outdoors, and I'll tell you guys right now, you're probably thinking, well, all these guys are sponsored by Ozonics and we get them. I'm not sponsored by Ozonics. I'm just telling you how to make you successful year after year. Hunting in the state of Texas, free-ranging whitetails, McCrae Outdoors. I got this blind, and on the food supply, it was 12 yards away. My wife sitting in the front right here, she can tell you this. I'm thinking, these guys are crazy. I mean, these guys, a whitetail's a whitetail. These guys come in, they come back and they said, we're putting this machine up above you, it's an Ozonics. Never have I got busted. So I come home, spend 300 some bucks. I've got 2 of them now. So I mean, it's amazing. I've used them for 3 years now, and they're an amazing product. And like I say, I'm not sponsored. They don't pay me. I'm just telling what makes my season successful.
If you got a neighbor in the same section, he holds the bucks because he's done everything to give him good bedding and everything. What's the best thing you can do to try to get him on yours too?
Those does are your bait, especially in the rut time. You know, I mean, that's part of your food supply because those bucks are looking for those does. And a lot of guys, and I don't have any problem with shooting does, but the problem is I want to shoot them at the right time. And during the rut time, I don't want to shoot any because I want them all in there because that buck's going to come checking. And I think that's very important. And your food supply, like if you have food plots, you know, some of the guys here, and we got some great, this is a great show for whitetails, I'm telling you. And you look at some of the foods, the guys that have booths there that have the turnips and stuff like this, turnips, for us in Ohio, is a great late season food supply. And we've harvested a lot of bucks off that. So that's something to keep in mind on what to plant. You can plant them in August. It doesn't take a lot of moisture. And that way have them for late season. So it's something to look at.
Related to that question, you guys represent states. Some of them allow baiting. Some of them allow you to shoot over bait piles. I want to go right down and get your guys' opinion on bait and whitetail. Thank you, Greg. Bill, what's your take?
You know, I feel the same way. You know, if it's legal and they allow me to bait or furnish a food supply, you daggone right I'm gonna do it. Because think of all, and if you look in the state of Wisconsin, Michigan, look at all the revenue that it's bringing in, not only to the deer hunters, but to the gas station owners, the corn supply. I mean, it's generating revenue and also producing whitetails for us. It's a great scouting tool, just like they say. You know, every gas station in the state of Michigan has turnips, you know, corn, sugar beets, or whatever. And you know, if it's legal, hey, I have no problem with it. But a good way to do it, these bucks get big, and they don't get big by coming up to Golden Corral and sticking their head in the food supply. But you can get on a corridor or a trail that leads to that food supply, and where they stage up and they come out when it's a little dark where you can shoot. I'm all about it.
My editors want me to find the biggest deer and write about how the guys or girls bag the biggest whitetail, and it's very often the biggest deer that I'm writing about, man, they're within the first week of the season. And the answer that I get, whether I'm interviewing Bill or Joe, both of you guys I've talked to for these stories, is that the deer then, the whitetails are still very patternable. They're still in that feeding, that late summer, early fall pattern of feeding. They haven't gone underground yet. And the key then is if you really want to bag a big deer, you're scouting in July, right? And you're hanging tree stands in August. Is that the case?
Well, in my case, you know, I say 90% of my tree stands already up. And, you know, what I'll do, I try to get in there maybe 3 times in there before opening day. Mainly, I want to make sure the shooting lanes are clear. If I put up new tree stands, I want to make sure definitely the shooting lanes are clear. I want to check my tree stands that I put up now, because I'm a big turkey hunter, turkey hunting all over the world. And when I'm turkey hunting, I'm deer scouting. So when I put a tree stand up, I want to make sure, I want to go in there probably 2 weeks before season to check everything, check all your straps. Don't ever leave straps on the tree stand, you know, a year at a time, because you're taking a safety risk. You want to make sure those straps around that tree stand is secure. So the less I'm in there, you know, the better off it is. And you know, early in the season, my tree stands are up, so I go and check them. I'm there as less thin as possible, less movement as possible, and that's the reason those big bucks are killed early, because you're in their living room right now. You're in their living room. They come out, they're comfortable. If you're going to kill them before they get that scent on you and start figuring you out, those whitetails will pattern you. So I try to give them the first 10 days, and you got something going.
How high are you guys hanging your stands?
Bill, how high are you up?
Me, I'm a wimp, to be honest with you. I don't like heights. I try to get 18, 20 feet at the most. I believe in concealment a lot. You know, I look like a giant squirrel up in there because I've got cedar trees, branches, and everything where the deer cannot skyline me. I mean, that's my philosophy. I shoot a bow and arrow every day. I've been with this archery company 38 years. The higher you get, and these guys, and what you guys don't understand is that 90% of the time we have camera crews in the stand with you. And that is tough. That is very tough. You know, these guys have to get high for one reason, you know, because they're trying to make a television show for you people. So you've got to get high for those guys. The cameraman's very high. Try to get you in the shot, plus the deer. But I like getting off the trail a little bit and let my shooting ability take over, but just try to get a lot of concealment. My camera guy, I guarantee you, he's above me, and these guys don't make enough money as far as I'm concerned, these camera guys don't.
Okay, yeah, it seems like that concealment is a subject that's just now getting hot. I mean, 10 years ago, you figured the height alone, the deer don't look up. Remember that? Oh, deer don't look up. So just get up there, and you figured if you were up 15 feet, you were done. And now you walk around the expo, and you see all kind of camo accessories to camouflage yourself in your stand. Yes, ma'am.
So you're considered experts
in the field, who do you guys consider to be your experts?
That's a great question. Who do you guys look up to as whitetail hunters? You're all looking at each other. What's funny is that.
I'll be honest with you. I look up to all these guys. For guys that's been in, I'm probably older than all these guys up here, and I've been in this game a long time. I've hunted every kind of critter you can imagine with a bow and arrow set. Turkey, 14 Grand Slams, 2 World Slams. I look up to these guys. Every day I learn something in the outdoors. If somebody could tell you, well, I'm the whitetail expert, hey, I'm not the best hunter in the world. I take pride in shooting a bow and arrow set, but I learn something every day. And when these guys do seminars, and I do 40 seminars a year all over the United States, do 11, 12 TV shows. When these guys do seminars, I'm sitting right there because I learn from these guys. I always want to pick up to make me better, and that's what made me successful every year after year.